All right, so I've just started recording. Welcome everyone, if you've just joined us from the recording. And my name's Brenda Rogers. I haven't introduced myself. My name's Brenda Rogers and I'm the training manager at Young Living. I also practice part-time in a local naturopathic, actually it's an integrative medicine clinic, as a naturopath, herbalist, nutritionist. I also teach yoga. I'm a life coach. And I have just started my aromatherapy training, so I'm on my way to becoming an aromatherapist as well. How could you not in this beautiful environment? And by the way, I have right next to me, which I think you can see, my dewdrop diffuser. And I'm currently diffusing Joy. So that's my favorite one for today. And I'm going to, oh, sorry, your screen's black. I'm actually going to start my PowerPoint here, and we're going to discuss 5 common mistakes that cause fatigue. So energy and fatigue being a extremely prevalent symptom or even side effect of our lives, and many people are looking for answers. And to be honest, the low energy is a symptom of just about everything. So it's a symptom of general, non-specific, everyday things, but it's also a symptom of conditions and disease. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that today, but I'd like to teach you what you need to know to start bouncing out of bed. It's possible. It really is possible, even with our busy, hectic, fast lifestyles. You can, it does take work though, I will be honest, to be successful in any area of your life. So you have your wheel of life, you'll have your health and your spirituality and your income and your friends and your family and so on and so on. To have success in any of those areas, let's be honest, it takes work. Nothing comes easily. And sometimes when we're unbalanced in one area, say working too much, the other ones suffer. And so we have to work at clawing back that balance. I know I work really hard at being healthy. I have to squeeze in the exercise. I have to do the things I need to do to make sure that I eat well. And it's not easy. So there are no quick fixes, no easy ways out, but there's a lot you can do. So let's just have a look. First of all, maybe I can get you to think about your energy and to rate your energy, and think about perhaps mental energy, physical energy. There's sort of 2 different things sometimes. And, where are you at? And I've got a bit of a scale here. So 0, you're tired all day, every day, motivation's a little non-existent. Or maybe you're a 5, so energy is a roller coaster. You can rely on coffee and sugar to keep you going, but your energy might sort of fluctuate in the afternoon, be quite low in the afternoon, and that's when you need your sugar or your coffee hit. Or are you a 10? Thank you. Yeah. Are you a 10? Bouncing out of bed, fabulous all day. So Rebecca says 6, that's honest. Cornelia, 7. 8. Janina, 7. Yvonne's 10. Awesome. Yvonne, Jody's a 4. Wow. Some room for 3, 5, 8, 2. My gosh, Alyssa. Oh. 8 physical. Mental. Yeah. Some of you might want to distinguish between 8 and 9. Chrissy says 5, sometimes less. Ugh. Yeah. Melena says 8. Gina says 8. Amanda's 5. Oh, wow. Yeah. That makes sense, Amanda. Sharon's 5. Susie's a 6 physical. Lyndon's a 7 or 8. Elizabeth, 6 mentally. Karen's a 7. Gosh, wow. Thank you, everyone, for being so honest. Diane's a 3. Ooh. So most people are around 5 to 7, and that's where they've been for a good amount of time. And that becomes their normal. So people settle for average energy, and that becomes their new normal. But it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah, so yeah, as I said, Rebecca, it takes work in every area. So let's just have a look at the way fatigue manifests. In case you're not sure, in case you didn't write in, Beatrice is a 0, she's sick with the flu. In case you didn't write in, some of the ways that fatigue looks is difficulty getting out of bed in the morning. You're a chocoholic, maybe craving chocolate, sugar for energy. You need a coffee so you can function. Plenty of people like that around. Pressing the snooze button several times before you get up. Keeping the coffee cart in business. Phew, there's a few people. By the way, all those disposable cups are filling up our disposal dumps and ending up in the sea. So if you give up a little bit of coffee, then you're doing the planet good as well. Maybe you're falling asleep on the way to work or from work. That's not driving, of course. Maybe you're on the bus, procrastinating or a loss of mojo, the infamous 3:30-itis or 3 o'clock-itis, fatigue after meals, falling asleep in front of the TV at like 7:30, nana nap dependency on weekends. These are some of the hints that your energy is not great and that you might be propping it up with chemicals. Yes, take your own cup. If you go regularly every day to coffee, take your own cup. They will use it. I've done it before in the past. So did you know that in a survey not so long ago, 43% of people hit the snooze button several times every morning? 43%. That's more than a third. And almost 60% of people never feel refreshed in the morning. That's huge. That impacts people's quality of life. So let's have a look at some common mistakes. And of course, the first one is usually poor fuel choices. So it's to do with food. And it's the most common reason that people are fatigued. I'm sorry, but it's back to basics. Poor fuel choices is directly linked with low energy and fatigue. And I know this from clinic. I can get people just to shift a few things in their diet and they start to tell me, oh, my energy's better. So when you make simple changes to your nutrition that are specific to your health concerns in particular, your energy can actually really skyrocket in a matter of weeks. And your body, well, it's like a machine and it requires very specific fuel to function. So, that can be, for example, we have I'm familiar with a gentleman who's of Asian descent. And if you eat typical food from the supermarket, then an Asian may eat quite a lot of wheat and quite a lot of dairy. And they are not really adapted for those kinds of foods, let alone them being processed. So that's just an example to illustrate how different people need different fuel choices. And if you're an exerciser or an athlete, if you're breastfeeding or pregnant and these kinds of things. So very important to think about who you are and what you're doing. If you don't put the right fuel in, it won't work properly, if at all. And trying to run your body on poor quality fuel is like trying to run your car on chocolate milk. And we're pretty good at handling things occasionally. So the odd glass of wine and the odd packet of chips. But if you push your body too far, you'll begin to show the signs of wear and tear. And for some people, this really starts even in their 20s. Used to be that I saw people who really abuse themselves in their 30s, but it's getting even younger. And poor energy, headaches, poor sleep, bloating, gas, mood swings can all be caused by the wrong fuel choices. And in our fast food world, it's so easy to get quick fix foods and forget about the dear old vegetable or the salad. And they are convenient, of course, but it comes at a price. And it is something that we have to consider every day. Sugar, coffee, and salty, high-fat foods are a common choice for the fatigued person trying to give themselves that quick fix, that quick lift. And the short-term burst of energy just really is followed by the slump in energy. So it's really counterproductive. So to give you an idea, the meat and veggies kind of concept is really, really appealing. But to give you an idea of what should be on your plate, you're looking at your protein in the form of animal protein, or if you're vegan or vegetarian, in your vegetarian forms, legumes and nuts and seeds and so on. You've got a small part there, the quarter of the plate grain, whole grain ideally. So even whole wheat pasta if you can tolerate gluten. But your brown rice and wild rice and red rice, and there's brown basmati rice in the supermarket now. You can buy rice blends, rice with lentils. These are all not nice variations. Quinoa and various other grains that people use, polenta and so on. So that's your grain portion, but the rest needs to be vegetables. And this is a little bit of a guide for your actual proportions for the day, the whole day as well. We really do benefit from upping our vegetable intake. Mistake number 2, and I think this is, I fall into this category. I know it's really hard not to fall into the trap of being, miss busy, or the rushing woman syndrome, I call it, or juggling too many balls. But it can, long term, it can lead to quite significant problems. Somebody mentioned earlier that they had adrenal fatigue. Adrenal fatigue is kind of a common modern term that we use to explain chronic fatigue that isn't perhaps chronic fatigue syndrome, which is even worse. It's not technically correct, adrenal fatigue. It actually comes back to our pituitary glands and the brain, but we kind of just get constantly low energy, never wake feeling refreshed, inability to concentrate or think clearly, foggy brain. People call it brain fog even. And it can also be feelings of apathy or depression, which are simply signs of not enough slow time and not enough calming down. So we just wear out eventually. Yep, people can relate, absolutely. So that's our number 2. And number 3 is not enough sleep. Now, I didn't realize how big an issue sleep is for so many people. The number of people who take drugs and some kind of assistance in sleeping is absolutely amazing and not great. There are certain things that you need to do to relax your body enough, to wind down enough, to calm your mind enough to be able to sleep, not just to get to sleep, but to stay asleep and to not be waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning every morning, especially that kind of waking up when you're worrying about your responsibilities for the day. So a couple of hints for good sleep and waking with energy is to avoid mistake number 1, poor fuel choices, to support your nervous system, and some magnesium and calcium. In fact, minerals in general are very good. Some adrenal supporting herbs and adrenal supporting herbs and foods, which are available outside of Young Living, but can be helpful. Even just a chamomile tea. There's a beautiful sleepy time tea, which I drink every night after dinner now instead of my chocolate. And chamomile, and it has some peppermint or spearmint in it as well. You can add some oils to that. We're going to talk a bit more about oils a little bit later, and some calming herbs also, such as valerian and valerian oils. And of course, we have our oils. We have so many oils for calming and relaxing us and grounding us and helping us switch off and letting go of the day. So, you look at your collection and you select the ones that intuitively feel right, or you look up your books to find out which ones, or if in doubt, lavender. Lavender's the queen. Yes, raindrop technique. Highly, highly recommended. You've got somebody who can do that for you. If you're waking between the hours of 1 and, this is continuing on from our sleep topic, if you're waking between the hours of 1 and 3 in Chinese medicine, it can indicate that your liver is overburdened and sluggish and having a little bit of, I call it unhappy liver, and it could do with a bit of a detox. So foods and herbs and strategies for that are really great for helping to improve the quality of your sleep and that waking up. So lots of wisdom in Chinese medicine, and as naturopaths, waking up, when I always ask somebody, what time are you waking up? Because it can tell us quite a lot of information about perhaps the potential cause of your sleeplessness. So turmeric and these kinds of vegetables and herbs and foods are very good to have a bit of a lightening the load. And if you eat these foods while you're lightening your load, maybe going off alcohol for a month, maybe stopping your coffee for a month, maybe cutting out the sugar for a month or something like that, and eating these things will help support your body to have a healthy detox, because you really don't want to over. There are nutrient requirements for the liver to detox, and so we need to kind of pack those nutrients into our bodies so that we can detox safely. Another potential reason for sleeplessness is an overactive nervous system. And if you're awakening multiple times during the night, or you're a very light sleeper and every little sound wakes you up, or you wake up early and you can't get back to sleep, then it's possible that your nervous system's overactive and that you need to calm things down. A little bit calcium, magnesium-rich foods. Your green leafy vegetables are amazing. Just calming lavender, cedarwood, valerian, rutavala are great. I'd also recommend that you nourish your body more, and make sure that you're taking your minerals every day, and your fruits and vegetables, and your berries in the form of a good dose of Ningxia Red is also good. Some people, do you take it at night? Anyone take it at night? Your Ningxia Red? I take mine in the morning usually. Milena suggests Epsom salt baths with oils. Absolutely fantastic idea. Chocolate avocado mousse with Sleek. Rebecca, that sounds amazing. Morning and night, Tina. Okay, great. Yes, you can. Yes, you can definitely take Ningxia at night. So Tina's taking it at night. Yeah. But mainly most people, I guess, take it in the morning. But it could be like a little treat after dinner instead of chocolate. Most people take it in the mornings though. So the next common mistake, and this is like epidemic. Yeah, Kylie takes it at 3 p.m. Rebecca's cacao instead of chocolate. Well, Rebecca, cacao is chocolate. I'm not sure that it's the caffeine that we're after in whatever form, but caffeine often comes with sugar, because imagine us, we would never eat chocolate or cocoa without sugar. It's pretty not that nice. But that whole vicious circle of propping ourselves up because our energy is at low with things like sugar and caffeine. And, people tell themselves, they delude themselves all the time. I need a lift. I need my kick. I need my hit. I can't get going without my coffee in the morning. It's just, yeah. Well, I know it's the truth for that person, but it's really a cop-out. And to be honest, an apple gives you far more energy first thing in the morning than a cup of coffee does. It's been proven. So not that I'm advocating giving up all your vices or taking the fun out of everything, but it's actually much more fun to wake up with energy in the morning than it is to not be able to open your eyes until you've had a coffee. And we get this vicious circle thing. So before you know it, you're up to 3 or 4 coffees a day, or chocolates, or various forms of the caffeine sugar hit. And one is good. One is max. And if you're sick, or your energy is low, or your immune system is struggling, or you've got fertility issues, or all those kinds of things, I'd recommend not having it at all. Go for a month without it and find all the beautiful substitutes. I found these lovely bags in the health food store that are chicory based, and it's not coffee, but it's very nice. So along comes the coffee, along comes a couple of trips to the biscuit tin and a few sneaky chocolates, and here you are snacking in between meals, and then possibly after dinner, possibly morning tea, bicky, and it's too much sugar, and you go from low energy, as you can see, low energy, you get your sugar hit, your caffeine hit, your blood sugar spikes, not to mention your cortisol and your adrenaline spikes. So here's you contributing to your adrenal fatigue. And then you get this fake energy that gets you through the day, but nothing changes. And so your blood sugar crashes, and then you're back to low energy. And it's a vicious circle because nothing changes if nothing changes. And so I encourage you as role models for the rest of the world with this information, armed with this information. It's now your obligation and duty to get out there and be a shining example for others, especially our kids. So the other one, 3 p.m. itis or 3:30 itis, affectionately known as, I've already really mentioned it, but in my experience in working a lot with energy in clinic, also weight issues, this 3 p.m. itis is a symptom of something deeper, and it is often not eating sufficiently at breakfast time. So under eating first thing in the first half of the day, also very common, especially in people with weight issues. They undereat in the morning because they've overeaten the night before. They're trying to accommodate the next morning by eating less, but they're repeating the same pattern over and over. You need a really good breakfast, and that will set you up so that lunch is a bit of a top up. You don't have the slump in the afternoon, and dinner is another little top up, but you can eat more lightly at dinner. And this is one of the best ways to gradually release extra weight in a healthy way. So next mistake is, I would call it just not going deeper, and that is really putting up with symptoms. So you've got your above 4 mistakes that we've already talked about, and just addressing those will make a big difference to most people and their energy. But if it doesn't, if it's not working, if you think you're doing all the right things, then there are other things that are going on, and it's really worth um, investigating. Your doctor might be able to help. Certainly, they might be able to help in diagnosing. Often, they don't have the tools that we have, or that naturopaths have, or nutritionists have, to be able to help you act on it. But they can certainly help you discover the underlying causes in some of these things. And so some of those underlying causes I'll mention in a minute, but even just general blood testing. So we often think iron, for example, iron deficiency, which is actually quite a common cause of fatigue, and that can be really reasonably easily corrected for most people. Iron deficiency can be a symptom of other conditions like celiac disease, for example. So if you're finding you're unable to keep your iron up and everything you're doing is not working, then go deeper, investigate further. Don't put up with it. Go and investigate, find out, and you'll find that you'll eventually get answers. So what causes burnout in a lot of people are things like nutrient deficiencies, iron being the most obvious example, but it could be vitamin B12. It could be, if you're a vegan, that could potentially be, but I think most vegans, especially the older vegans, so a lot of teenagers become vegan because it's fashionable, or because they're trying to lose weight and they're a bit health obsessed, which isn't always the healthiest perspective to have, because often they're not armed with a lot of information on how to be a healthy vegan. But vegans who are skilled at it can be extremely healthy as a vegan, but it does take work. You have to know what you're doing. It's much easier to be to not really know as much and be reasonably healthy with a traditional meat and vegetables and grain diet. I think you do have to be a little bit more knowledgeable about what you're doing to be a healthy vegan. But anyway, nutrient deficiencies can be a cause, and there are tests you can do for that. Thyroid dysfunction is very common these days, especially with the nuclear stuff that's going along in the world and the effects that that's having on our thyroid health. Dieting has effect on thyroid health. Then we have adrenal exhaustion, which is every second client that comes into the clinic has some kind of exhaustion going on, and it is highly common. It's this symptom of not enough nutrients and too much rushing, in a nutshell. Liver congestion that we talked about, and bowel toxicity, also very typical with fatigue and low energy. And then you've got more complex things like post-viral fatigue. So if you've had Epstein-Barr virus, which is glandular fever, or you've had cytomegalovirus or Ross River virus, and you're not really recovering from these things, perhaps because you didn't sort of slow down for long enough for your body to heal, they can have quite dire consequences and contribute to fatigue that becomes very difficult. Similar with Lyme disease, can very, very difficult to overcome. So getting in really early, not putting up with it, getting investigated is really important. All right, so let's just have a look at in a nutshell what we can do to improve our energy levels. We've talked a lot of hints and tips already. I hope you're taking notes. It's a big long message, Alyssa. So I'll because you've done it to everyone, I'll read it out. You've been to 4 doctors trying to get help with your sleep. You haven't slept properly for a month. It took me to going to a naturopath in desperation. She asked for the right tests, and then you had stage 3 adrenal exhaustion. So some doctors have no clue and will only ask for Medicare funded tests. You know, that's what they're programmed to do. That's what they're trained to do. They're doing their job when they're doing that. So we shouldn't expect something else. You know, we go to a doctor for that. Every one of those 4 doctors asked for exact same tests, which told them nothing, and they ended up giving me, so painkillers. You know, and I guess we really want to educate our doctors that there are other things that they're missing out on. So, or you know, my request would be that you support naturopaths. Our industry is already aware of these types of things, and to go and see a naturopath and to have your naturopath as one of your partners in health is an extremely good idea. You know, like you have your accountant do your books every year, or like you have your mechanic who fixes your car every year. Have your naturopath who you go for your get back in line, get back on track, teach you a little bit more. It would be a lot easier for us naturopaths to have, you know, the influence that we want to have on the world if you supported naturopaths in your area. They're to be a qualified naturopath is an extremely long process, and it's very rigorous, and they are great people. Of course. All right, so let's have a look at the journey to health. You can see my little carrot symbol there on the screen. That's really about tips for eating better. And I know you guys will have some tips. I'd like to share with you just a couple of mine. And let me just keep an eye on the time so I don't go over. Because a lot of us know what we should be doing. We really do know fruit and vegetables, not unprocessed foods, foods that nature made, not too much of it, mostly plant-based. Even if you're a meat eater, it's still mostly plant-based, and you know, regular bowels every day and plenty of clean water and so on. We know what to do, but we're just not doing it. And it's often because we have we have lives which produce these nice excuses that make things inconvenient and difficult. But there are, if you're committed, you can find a way, and it is possible to eat really healthily and be a busy mum and a busy dad and work and so on. You just have to be in the headspace. First of all, and this is one of my first tips, and please write your tips in for others if you have any as well. But one of my top tips is to value your role. And this is, I'm kind of mainly talking to women here, but to value your role as what I call the kitchen goddess. I think of myself as my kitchen goddess. It's my domain. I am the sovereign of my kitchen. I'm the kitchen goddess, and I rule. I rock and I rule, because I take care of the the health of my family. I take that responsibility. I don't leave that to their doctor. It's, you know, it's what goes into our family. So I make sure that I cook meals. There's always leftovers, and those leftovers become lunch for both of us, and for um, our daughter, my stepdaughter, my husband's daughter as well. And she has leftovers to take to school, and she loves it. So I make something for her that is possible for her to take to school. Now, to become you know, first of all, is to think of yourself as a kitchen goddess, to value that role. Our culture has denigrated and diminished the role of the woman in the kitchen, and it's wrong. It's actually not correct. Um, and I would say to allow yourself to become an efficient home economist and to learn to cook more. So many of you do that already. I acknowledge you for that. But if you're struggling, if you're fresh out of home, or, you know, whatever your situation and you find it difficult, then invest in learning to cook. Look at the videos online, join some kind of group, um, join one of those organizations that send you everything, and all you have to do is kind of follow the instructions. Learn to read recipes, learn to cook from recipes. In fact, my advice is really to start with recipes. I can be totally uninspired and know not what not to cook, not know what to cook, and I'll get my recipe books out and I'll just start flicking and flicking, and I'll get inspired. And I always start with my my recommendation for people is to prepare and pre-plan, whether it's a couple of days, whether it's the week, whatever you can manage. I often do my cooking on Sundays, and I call it Sacred Sundays because I take this couple of hours to pick the recipes, do the shopping, and then I'll make a soup. I'll make in summer, I'll make a salad. I'll make a couple of slow cooker meals, which will sit in the fridge, uh, ready to go. So we will have dinners and leftovers for the whole week. And then I'll make up my bulk muesli recipe, which, by the way, is in the Young Living cookbook. I was able to contribute that via my naturopath friend Irene. It's actually her recipe, and it's like a sort of paleo essential oil version of muesli, and you can make it up into big containers, stick it in the fridge, and there's your. I usually put it in a container, and sometimes I'll make 3 containers for the next 3 days. I'll add some liquid, so it might be yogurt, it might be soy milk, it might be juice, or coconut water, and because I like my muesli soaked. And you know, you can pre-plan those breakfasts out as well. So you know, the day starts with a good breakfast. Always starts with a good breakfast, even if you're kind of one of those people that doesn't really like it. Breakfast, it's, if you start with a breakfast, even if it's a little bit later than perhaps everyone else, you tend to eat less throughout the day, and then eventually you are actually hungry in the morning, so that you can get into that good habit. So let me see if you guys got any other. Get a Thermomix. Love my Thermomix. Yes. FMTV is good for recipes. That's awesome. Yeah. Essential oils support the emotions through the sense of smell. Balancing emotions are key to the mindset. Get the diffuser on. Absolutely. Put your love into your cooking. And you know, as the kitchen goddess, that's I feel like I'm doing that. I love it. I get into the zone. I'm ruling my roost. I've got my kombucha over there and my apple cider vinegar drink in the fridge. They're my kind of medicine things. I've got my herbs in the cupboard. I've got my oils over there. And here I am concocting up these wonderful, glorious recipes that are loving and kind and healing and nutritious. And it empowers me. It also connects me with food, which connects me with nature, which is kind of a spiritual experience as well. So, you know, anyone that has a history with some kind of dysfunctional relationship to food, I encourage you to get down and dirty with food. And even if you can grow it in your own kitchen, even better. Yes, so the Buddhists say always bless your food, always say grace or do a blessing before you eat. Honor it, honor the people who made it, especially if you made it, you know, or you grew it. And, you know, we start to then respect food, where it comes from, the whole process, which is beautiful. So the next little image that I've got there on my screen is it's the bike, and I'm really here, I'm representing a little bit of exercise, a little bit of this slowing down. And honestly, if anyone has some tips, I'd love you to share them, because this is one of my challenges at the moment, is just really stopping and slowing down. It's just such a treadmill. You get into the busyness and then you have to do this. But I think it's really taking time out for some reflection and going, what's important to me? Where is my life being compromised because I'm too busy somewhere else? What do I have to give up? And it's so hard to give stuff up. But for those of you who are into the oils, which we all are, then I would suggest things like really working out your vision, who you are, and your values, and aligning with that. Don't be the keeping up with the Joneses person. Work towards living your own script in life, and being the master of your own destiny. It does take time, and it's a journey. And things like Magnify Your Purpose is a great oil for that. Dreamcatcher is a great oil for that. And these, I'm sure you guys have others that you recommend for this sort of visioning, connecting with self, authenticity, that know thyself kind of process that the oils really help with. I think frankincense is actually great for that as well. Doing yoga with frankincense is amazing. Taking time to meditate, even just 5 minutes. I actually have one of those busy minds, and I couldn't meditate to save myself. So I downloaded one of the apps, the free apps online. It's just one called Insight Timer. Insight, INSIGHT, Timer. And it's free, and you can go in and you can listen to all of these thousands of guided visualizations, or you can use it to time your meditation. And it's just so easy, because you have your phone beside you. You can just plug in your headphones and you can do 1 minute. But even the other thing, even taking an oil and going and stopping is meditation. So even if that's what you do throughout the day, it's worth it. All right, so let's have a look at some tips for sleeping better. And it's, once again, if you're not sleeping well, it takes work. You have to work out why. You have to look at your sleep hygiene. So that's all over the internet, what sleep hygiene is. Do you have your TV on in your bedroom? Big no-no. Are you watching the TV and getting all hyped up until the last minute? Are you eating or drinking stimulants too late in the day? Are you, just have a look at it. And I know it sounds so simple, but that self-diagnosis process is really important. And then using some oils to help calm and relax. For example, your cedarwood. One of my favorites is cedarwood, because it's just such a divine smell. Of course, lavender, peace and calming. Rutavala in the roll on, and lavender, of course. I've already mentioned lavender. And there's many others that are excellent for just calming down and slowing down. Yes, taking some me time, Janina. Yes. Consisted of exercise and Bible study. Yeah, something reflective, something fulfilling, something that lifts you up. And so just structuring your time and scheduling your time is taking charge of your life, and is something that really encourages self-responsibility. So take charge of your life. It's really awesome. And then just a couple of tips on avoiding the stimulants. We've had some already on the chat. For some of us, it's actually releasing addictions. And that can be a process. That can be quite a long process. Some of the oils can help you not so much release addictions, but just calm you down and make it easier for you to focus and make decisions that you actually stick to, and release gently, because we're not just addicted to alcohol or chocolate or coffee, but we can be addicted to thinking too much. We can be addicted to sitting in front of the TV. We can be addicted to our phone, and none of these things are really elevating us, yet they really keep us mediocre in our lives. And I know there's a lot of people who really want to be exceptional and be the best person they can be. So that gradually releasing the things that we're obsessed about will really help, including sugar, including coffee, including chocolate, will really inspire you to be the best you can be. So Susie recommends Juvaflex. That's fantastic. And then we're almost out of time, so I just want to finish off with the tips for long-term maintenance. I kind of already talked about it, but having a professional network, I call it our professional network, and that might be your naturopath. I'd like to encourage that, but it may also be your energetic healer. It might be a therapist, a counselor. It might be a massage therapist or a Bowen therapist or a Reiki practitioner or a raindrop practitioner. Having these people in your professional network, or really your personal network, who are the people who support and uplift you, the people that, especially us women, who are doing too much for others and often don't get what we need in the home because we're taking care of everyone else. You have to go outside for that. You really have to pay for it, unless you are able to do swaps, but then it's different. It's not the same. So invest in your health. Don't ignore your symptoms. Find people you can go for support in terms of your relaxation, your exercise. Have an exercise buddy, have a meditation buddy, have a study buddy. If you're going to study your oils, you're going to study, never stop studying. This will help you to grow and expand and to become that best person you want to be. And then from that, we have that, mastering ourselves, and then it becomes easier to make sure that your day is serving you, to make sure that you're not overeating those things, to increase your discipline, and so on. It's kind of a package deal that all comes together. It takes time. You have to be patient as well. Life balance, if there is such a thing. Well, my dears, I'm just going to show you my blue agave slide because it's back in stock, and I said I would mention it. It's a natural sweetener, so it is low GI, and obviously the whole sugar thing, the important thing is to reduce sugar overall, any types of sugar, any types of concentrated sugar, and that includes natural sugars. But if you're going to have something sweet and you're going to have a process of weaning yourself off sugar, perhaps, then getting these whole sugars, these beautiful sugars, is a great idea. And the blue agave is one of those very delicious things. It's the Mexican tree of life and abundance, it's called. It's what tequila is made with. Not that really is something, it's just a fact, an information thing. It's the favorite food of the Aztecs. It was a nectar used in religious ceremonies and was labeled by some as the nectar of the gods. The natives of Mexico call the juice honey water. So it's more sweet than honey, and it's more sweet than sugar, so you use a little bit less. And the less sugar you have, the less you need. So really work towards reducing it as much as possible. Okay. Let me get my cursor back. Okay, here we go. So yeah, that's back in stock. You can have that on your next thing. So aha moments, everyone. Just refreshing. Oh, agave. I will answer that question, Gina. Gina asked why some people think agave is not good for you. Most agave is highly, highly processed. So this one isn't. This one's a whole form. Also, there is a high quantity or a high percentage of fructose in agave, which in normal amounts, especially in unrefined sugars, is fine. Fructose in fruit is absolutely fine. You need a little bit of fructose for your whole metabolism. But if you're having high levels of sweeteners and they're refined agave syrup, then that's not great for you. So if you're going to have a sweetener, I would have something that, well, and it's not cheap. You have to, you pay for good stuff. So um, it can. This one is part of that whole healthy aspect of working towards reducing sugar in the diet. Then agave is fine. It's great for cooking and so on. Okay, so I'm just going to let our recording people go and say thank you and good night. And then I'm just going to, for those staying, I'm going to work with you on a couple more things. So thanks everyone and good night.